all this time she has been telling the truth. And as long as she feels that she's been telling the truth, that's why she is not worried about what other people have to say. But I'm just curious, what do people think out there? If there's anybody who may not have believed her, maybe they may have a different attitude now, and they might have a change of heart. What do you think, Keros?
I mean, to me, if a person is saying their truth, and it is the truth, it's kind of hard for me to dispute it. If she is going to put herself out on a limb like that, I can't turn around and say, well, I'm going to believe Phaedra because this woman just is lying. That doesn't make sense to me. She's been arrested. She is basically telling her story, so I don't see why anybody should not believe her.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I have to say as well, I mean, nobody, only who feels it knows it. As I said to her during our interview, we are not there. None of us were there at the time when she was going through all these really, really tragic things. So it's like, the thing about it, the one thing I will say is I've noticed how the media can sometimes try to make people look bad, and I just wonder, is there any publicity, especially for something like this, better than none? Because some people may have said, oh, well, she's only looking for attention. I'm playing devil's advocate here, people. I'm in the middle. And I'm saying, okay, well, some people may say, she's only looking for publicity? And other people will say, no, I believed her from the beginning. And, she has her book out. So if you want the details, as we've already said earlier, you are going to have to download and purchase that book, Lies of a Real Housewife, so that you can really hear her story from the lady herself. I mean, wow, it's amazing that all these things that she's been through, and she is so strong to be able to come out the other side. And not only has she gone through it and endured it and come out and survived it, but she's even willing to share her story again and again for other people.
Yeah, and that, to me, gives her even more credibility as far as I'm concerned. She knows people are going to be throwing rocks at her. And she's still willing to accept that. And yes, she does have a book, and yes, she wants to sell the book, and yes, she will make money from the book. But if I write a book about an experience in my life just to make money from it, I've got to be really, either I got to have some big cojones, or I got to be crazy, or because I may get sued for libel.
Well, yeah, but she said she'd been in court with her for years. That court case rumbled on, as I was asking her in the interview, and she said, yeah, it did go on for a long time. And there's times when you're not sure what the outcome could be, because it's like if the other side wins, you could be liable for not just obviously taking it to court, but you're going to pay the court fees, and then they may stop you for, in this case, selling the book. And it could really impact your life for many, many years going forward, kind of thing. So I'm just wondering, I mean, you guys can let me know what you think at Ask-Avani Show. I wonder if she ever believed that in karma.
You mean her or Phaedra?
No, karma for Phaedra, if that makes sense. Because she said that, Phaedra put her through all these things. Obviously, once upon a time, they were actually friends. I must stress that, people. They were friends, as she said, and she did not want to go through this, with her and have to feel this way and endure what she's endured. But sometimes you have to look back and think, wow, would she ever countenance karma coming her way and thinking, listen, you did these things to me, and this, sometimes people say, listen, what goes around comes around, right?
Yeah.
But so you have to ask yourself, would she ever think about that, and would she feel that maybe Phaedra should deserve punishment of some kind, whatever it could be, whether it's jail or fines or whatever,
Well, one thing to me that I thought about was, and this is for anybody who is a criminal or anybody who is dishonest, they'll lie to your face, and it doesn't bother them whatsoever. So there's no karma feeling to me. If Phaedra, in fact, did all the things that have been noted in this book, if you're a criminal, you're not caring what people think other than you getting caught. I mean, so if you're willing to do, she gave detailed description as to how they committed crimes. Okay?
Absolutely. People, you have heard it, she's given other interviews in the past, and she's been very, clear and very, very detailed, like you say, about some of the things that she said happened. Right. And the things that they were, allegedly doing at that time. So that's a lot of detail for somebody to keep repeating. And saying over and over again, if they're not telling the truth, then it's like, wow, you have to be a good liar to keep on repeating the same thing. So It's interesting. I'm curious to know how, if she could ever even sit down in the same room with her again.
I think she could, because I think she's at peace. I think she's at peace with herself because she knows the truth. And so for her, if she's sitting in the room with someone that she knows she's told the truth about, she's at peace. To me, the person may be all agitated and nervous and not want to be there, but she's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's as I say, when you speak to this lady and you really sit and hear what she has to say, as I said, she said it so many times before, she said it again, and she said she likes to share her story because she wants to, inspire others not to go down that path if they can avoid it, and to try and have a better life if they've had a really hard time in their life, to know that they can, change paths and do other things and go, into a different direction and have the life that maybe they really want. Kind of thing. I must stress this as well. I mean, I didn't even realize this until I was doing my homework about the lady herself, but apparently she actually volunteers in prisons and detention centers. Now, I mean, that is a big thing for someone who has actually spent time behind bars as a prisoner to actually be able to volunteer after they've been released and they've started their new life, to volunteer and go back and talk to people repeatedly. As I said, it's not just once. She does this regularly. As I said, that's a huge thing to me. That part of it is truly inspirational, because I don't know if I could do that.
Well, it's part of the being at peace, though. I feel, are a person who is a motivational speaker, someone who can motivate people. And you do the same thing. You haven't committed crimes, but you talk about your past. And people get good things from you talking about your past. And that's the same type thing she's doing, in my opinion. She's talking about, this is what I actually went through. Ministers do it all the time. A lot of ministers used to be gangster. I mean, out on the streets and bonking people and thugging and stealing, and then they become ministers because they're ministers in large. Sorry, any ministers that I hurt your feelings. You guys are running gangs in churches a lot of times. It's the congregation. So, but then they do say, "Hey, I was out there in them streets. I'm not in the streets now. I can bring you to the Spirit, etc., etc." And I think that's what she's doing. She's at peace.
Absolutely. But the thing is as well, one thing I have noted as well, now that, because her case came back out and it was resolved, and now she can sell her book and she can carry on with her life and not have to worry about constantly going back to court. I noticed that a lot more people were coming forward to support her, especially celebrities. So I'm just wondering if she's sort of feeling vindicated, that now people are starting to see certain things, because I don't want to spoil it for people, but apparently there are some allegations that have come up on the Real Housewives of Atlanta, that things that allegedly that Phaedra has said about other cast members, and now it's sort of looking like, okay, when people like Angela Stanton was saying this lady has lied and has done things, maybe more people will maybe start to say, okay, well, I saw X, Y, and Z, and I kind of believe her story even more now, whereas maybe I didn't before, because they thought she was just looking for the limelight. She may have been bitter and things like that, but now they're seeing certain things, they're thinking, hold on, this is some things I'm seeing that, Phaedra Parks has allegedly said this and that, and really going below the belt kind of thing. Allegedly, as I said, I haven't seen it, but these are the things that are upcoming, and apparently she's not even on the Real Housewives of Atlanta anymore. I heard this.
She was fired. No, she's out.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So this, I'm like, okay, wow. So, and it's not just any old celebrities, if you want to say that. It's people that were on the Real Housewives of Atlanta with her, such as, Candy Burris, for example. And these are people that are now coming to Angela Stanton and openly saying, wow, she said this, and I can say from my point of view that I've had something that's happened with me and her, obviously because Candy and Phaedra had, their problems. They also used to be friends. So it's like, I'm just wondering if she feels like vindicated now that more and more people are coming forward and saying, actually, you know what, I believe you, and I can attest to some of the things you're saying in terms of character of.
And I think, as I said earlier, I think she's at peace. And I think when you do something like write a book like this, you have to be at peace before you do it and you go into the public eye. So vindication, I think, yeah, she probably feels good about that. But I think she feels that, hey, I'm vindicated. I wrote this. And she couldn't dispute it because she tried to, and it's been published. So the only thing Phaedra has over her is, I'm not in jail. Okay, that's
well, yeah, but I've seen people out there, on the blogs and social media and everything, and a lot of people are commenting and saying, okay, now we feel that you should be in jail.
Phaedra,
I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there.
I'm agreeing with you because it's a crime, but again, good criminals, which is really kind of strange, but it's not nice to be a criminal or good to be a criminal. No,
but people that are good at hiding it, if they're really good at being, criminally minded.
Right.
And people have said, especially people such as lawyers and so on and so forth, obviously they have to learn the law and how people break the law to be able to supposedly help others who are in trouble with the law, right?
Well, but you don't have to break it yourself to learn
it.
I'm agreeing with you.
I'm saying they have to know the tricks and the things that people would do so that they can represent their clients in court to try and get them off charges, right? Especially if they're criminal lawyers and so on and so forth, right?
Right.
You have to understand how the system works. Right. And if you're going to break it, those types of people would know how to cover their tracks.
Well, okay, I see exactly what you're saying. So if I'm representing criminals, then I'm learning from that criminal how they broke the law. And then if I choose to be a criminal myself as an attorney, then I can know I get all the fruits of understanding from what other criminals have done. And then I think I'm so smart that I'm going to do this in the way that
as a criminal, if she chooses to do something, as a lawyer, I should say, if she chooses to do something criminal, she is less likely to get caught.
Yes, because she has experiences from other criminals that she has represented in the past.
Not just that, but she also knows the law, so she knows how to avoid certain things and how to cover her tracks. Do you see what I mean?
Sad. I mean, I'm more. I've been in the corner of the author, period. But Phaedra has always impressed me as I've seen some of the Real Housewives. Mm-hmm. You know how you have that sneaky relative or friend that you never want to come over because they're always so sweet and sugary to the adults, but then when you're just you two hanging out, they're pretty freaking popping pills and trying to smoke. That's Phaedra.
I mean, the book has even been mentioned. Normally when there's some type of thing going on outside of a reality TV show, for example, they don't really mention it. But listen, Candy just went in and just said Angela Stanton's name live on TV. She was mentioning her on the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion show and mentioned her name and everything and said, listen, you got issues with another person, so I know that your behavior is shady and all this. People, I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen any of it because I've just seen snippets of it myself, but I know the allegations that are supposedly coming through, and I'm not going to say anymore because it's out there in the media. But it's just I know from speaking to her, it's like, wow, I was just fascinated to speak to her because I just thought, well, you've been through all of this and you have managed to come out the other side. You started a new life. She's living life on her own terms, Angela Stanton is. Okay. And it's like, I was just curious thinking, what are some of the biggest things that she hoped to achieve? And she is achieving them. Like you say, she's inspirational. She's talking to people. She's telling her story. She's sharing her story repeatedly. As I mentioned earlier, she's a volunteer in jails now and prisons and detention centers. So this is something that you don't just do. Most people would not want to go anywhere near that. They'd be like, oh no, I've had my fill of that, obviously, and I don't want to go anywhere near it. If I'm going to share my story, I may share it in another way. I may do motivational speaking, as you said. I may obviously write a book or something like that, but I don't actually want to go back into that. So that's how strong is that of a person to actually say, okay, not only am I going to write a book and I'm going to talk about it, and share my story repeatedly whenever I'm asked to do so, but I'm actually going to go back into that environment, and speak to people that are actually in there serving time. I mean, wow,
Again, that person is a strong person, and she could have lived her life and never wrote a book, period.
Absolutely.
And still been, she still could have gone to prisons and to jails and just did public speaking and all those things. But I think this helps her when even she does that, because the people that see her say, wow, you actually went public with this and you were strong enough to do that. Okay, I'm going to listen to what you're saying and really hold it in my heart and listen to it, and hopefully it'll help me because you went public with what your trials and tribulations for her.
Absolutely. And she's had the support of so many people, and, you know, so many other people, so many celebrities